Hey everyone, I'm Bryson. Welcome to Simulacra, and this is session 4 of building a decentralized application. Last session, in session 3, we chose and set up an IDE, and we made sure that we could push our changes to GitHub. So, in today's session, we are starting building the components, the main components that will make up our application. So, I hope you learn a lot. I know I will learn a lot. Stay tuned. Post any questions you have below in the comment section and let's get into it. All right, so the first thing that we need to do in developing this application is we need to start with a front end, and we need to start with a framework that helps us build a front end more easily. And we're gonna go with Next.js, super easy installation, and we'll be able to spin up a local host web page, and we'll be able to look at all of our changes that we're making. So in our terminal, we're going to copy and paste the command from Next.js, and it's just npx create next app latest. Okay, and we're getting a command not found npx. Why am I getting a command not found npx? Let's see. So we got a command not found npx, and I'm going to guess that means that we don't have Node.js installed, and Node.js is required to use Next.js. So let's type in node v, and yeah, it says command not found node. So we're gonna have to install node on our computer or in our terminal. So the best way to do that is to use brew, homebrew. We'll do it that way. That's the cleanest, especially since I have a Mac. So let's type in brew v. All right, so we do have homebrew installed, so that's good. So now we just need to install node from homebrew. So we'll say brew install node. All right, cool. Auto updating homebrew, blah, blah, blah. It looks like I have 12 outdated formula, and we're going through. It's installing node for us right now. Pro tip, if you have a Mac, homebrew is a really, really good source to essentially install any framework, library, and whatever kind of tool you need. And they have a huge repository of installs. So use Homebrew if you need to install a tool or framework and you have a Mac. As you can see, we're installing a lot when it comes to Node, so we'll just wait for a second. All right, so we got Node installed. Now we can review and see if we have it installed correctly. Yep, we have the latest version. So now that we have Node installed, we can create our Next.js application. So let's copy and paste npx create next app at latest, and Next.js will ask us to proceed. Do you need to install the following packages? We say yes. So it's asking us next what our project is named, and our project is going to be named Community Pool. Community Pool. I need to make sure I spelled that right. C-U-M-M, Unity Pool. Oh, and we got a invalid project name. Name can no longer contain capital letters. So that's completely fine. So we'll just make the P and the C lowercase letters. Community Pool. So we'll name our project Community Pool, just like our overarching project in Cursor and our repository on GitHub. And then it's going to ask us, would we like to use the recommended defaults? And we just say yes, use recommended defaults. So now it's installing all of our default dependencies right from Next.js. Next.js is really, really cool, and it's really seamless and really efficient in allowing you to create apps and view your front end on a local host. All right, so we successfully created community pool at users GitHub community pool. So now we have a Next.js project. Super cool. And if you go over up here, we can see that our community pool project has been created. And if we open this community pool project, we see a full project in here, and our page.tsx is where our front end or our web page is going to go, our home page. So we have a project created using Next.js. Super exciting. And now we're going to run this project and start working on the front end and making changes and making the UI and UX very user friendly. And now we need to actually test our project. So what we're going to do in the terminal is we are going to ls into our community pool. And ls is just a command to list the contents of a directory. So we're going to go into our community pool and cool. So basically we can see all of the projects and all of our contents that are also up into the right hand corner over here. So now we're going to change directory into community pool. Cool. So now we are making sure that we're in the community pool directory. And then we are going to npm run dev. All right, so this project was created successfully. You can go to the URL right here beside network to actually go to the home page and see what this app looks like. All right, so let's go to see what our app looks like. Let's follow this app. We'll open this. Yes, we want to open from cursor. So as you can see, it's blank. We actually need to start editing that page.txx file that I was showing all of you earlier. So when we start editing that, and then we will save and then redeploy and rerun, and then this actual web page, this home page, will be updated to our liking with our code changes. All right, so the next thing we need to do is we need to make sure that cursor has rules and then also has access to the documentation for Next.js so that our agents are coding and programming according to the rules of using Next.js. And then they're also making sure that the coding that's being done is accurate because it's using the documentation from Next.js. So in our chat, we can add docs for documentation. We'll add a new doc, and then we can add the documentation from Next.js. So let's go search for documentation from Next.js. All right, so we'll go to Next.js, and we'll just take the nextjs.org docs page. We'll type it in here, and then we'll add that doc, and cool, Next.js docs entry point confirm. And now we have the documentation from Next.js available for the agent to use. And next, we need to implement rules so that our AI assistants in Cursor, the AI agents, know exactly the best practices for coding and developing with Next.js. So what we want to do is we want to go to settings, we want to go down to rules, and we want to make sure that the project rules are turned on. And we can either add a new rule here, but I'm going to add an entire new rules file. So I'm going to go up to our community pool project. I'm going to add a new file, and I'm going to name it cursor rules. And then I'm actually going to go to the directory of Cursor to look up the best practices for using Next.js. So over on this Cursor directory, we're going to type in Next.js, and we're going to pick the second one, optimized for best practices TypeScript. So you can review the prompt and see if you want to change anything or if this prompt is going to be helpful for you. But I think this is pretty good best practices for using Next.js. So we're just going to copy and paste this right here. So let's copy. And then next we're going to come back to Cursor and post those rules in our Cursor rules file. So we just posted all of these in our Cursor rules file. And so these Cursor rules will ensure that our AI assistant is using the best practices of being a full stack developer. So we are good to go in terms of designing our simple front end. We're going to get a very simple front end. We're going to make sure it looks good, but we're going to then go and develop the back end and then go back, make sure that the UI looks a little bit better, the user experience is a little bit better, and then we're going to connect both of our front end and back end. And all the while, we're going to be doing testing between each of these steps. So now that we have everything with Next.js set up and we know that Cursor can use the best practices when using Next.js and developing this application full stack wise. Now we can actually start giving our agent a prompt to start developing what our front end is going to look like. When you're developing a prompt for your front end, you want to be specific in what you don't want and what you do want. So probably going to take a while to develop this prompt for our agent. So we'll come back and I'll show you the prompt, the plan that the agent will generate, and then the first front end that the agent is going to build for our application. All right, I'm back, and it's been a few days, but I finally got down what I wanted to prompt and give our agent so that we could build this front end. All right, everyone, we're back, and it's been a few days, but I finally decided exactly how I want to prompt out this front end and what prompt I want to give the agent so that we can be in pretty good position to one-shot a pretty decent landing page and front end. Instead of using a prompt, I actually created a PRD, and a PRD is just a product requirements document, and it's essentially exactly what it sounds like. It's a document that tells a user everything about your product. So what exactly your product is, the solution, the audience that solution is going to help, the core entities, the flow of the entire application, and so on, the tech stack, what tools you're using, all the things that we went on in the system design YouTube videos. I'll link that down below. Previously, we just put into document format. So I'm going to take that document and plug it into our chat up here in plan mode, and we'll see what the agent comes up with in terms of a plan, and then we'll start building the front end. So cool, let's do that now. All right, so I have my front. Okay, so I've split my PRDs into front end and back end. So I have my front end PRD in Google Docs. So I'm just going to copy and paste it into the chat, and then I'm going to tell the agent, here is my PRD. So I'm going to assume that our agent is not most likely going to be able to just spit us out a full production ready application right now. There's a lot of testing we have to do. We have to build the back end. We have to make sure the front end and the back end connect. We have to do more testing. So I just want it to really build me a MVP front end, and then we're going to iterate from here. So I'm also going to add in a few images from a Bitcoin exchange app that I was working on previously, because I think I developed a pretty aesthetically pleasing app. So we're going to use some of those screenshots. All right, so we added some screenshots from a previous application I was building. Really just pretty ancillary building type screenshots. I also posted how our connected wallets might look and the integrations when we actually are posting an address or connecting a wallet so that a user can see their token balance. So we have that one, and then we also have something for our portfolio balance. And then we also added another what the total balance and the estimated value of that balance might look like. So this should be a good starting point for our application. And now we're going to actually build. So we're in plan mode over here, and we're good to go. So let's see what the application comes in. Oh, we need to add something else. So we have to make sure we tell it to add changes to the home page in page TSX. So let's see what this says. So I think it developed us a good plan. Let's read through it real quick. Okay, target files, cool structure. Have our CTAs, call to action, login, sign up. All right. It's talking about track BTC, ETH, and gold like we wanted to, up to 50 addresses. We can deploy Ethereum community pools. It's a browser-only wallet. All right, so we at least know that this agent is taking in our PRD and reading it and actually extracting what we want. So now that we went through and verified the plan, we're letting our agent build. All right, so great. So our application is done. It says the page is static server component and uses these links, and then it has all of our routes. So let's run this project. Okay, run project. All right, so Cursor ran the project, and to view our app, we can just go to this localhost. So let me pop over to our app right now. So this is what the front end for our Next.js app looks like. As you can see, pretty sleek. I like the coloring. I like the green. Nothing too crazy right now. Very simple. And then we have our footers at the bottom that we can start actually building out. So we have a pretty good base for this application. So I think now, since I have a pretty good base, I'm going to go into the creating a account and creating a user process and flow, and then actually build out the portfolio and community pool pages. And then we will make this front end a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Right now it's decently pleasing, but we can definitely make it so it's a very nice looking application. But for right now, I think this is a good stopping point in terms of this video and building our front end and showing all of you how to build a front end using Cursor and Next.js. As you can see, it's super easy. Anyone can do it. And if you have an idea, start building. So I hope everyone enjoyed today's video. I'm Bryson. You've been watching Simulacra. Remember to support the channel, share to your friends, like, and subscribe. Comment down below if you have any questions or comments related to building front ends using Next.js, using Cursor, or just application development in general. All right, I'm out. I'll see everyone later. Bye, everyone.